Hello, here we are at the end of another week, and this was a nice short week, wasn't it? So our starter today is money. You and 4 friends are putting money together to buy a new game which costs £35.99. Your friends put in £8.35, £2.97, £7.53 and £10.61. How much do you need to put in so that you can buy the game? So if you know what you're doing here, just pause the video and work it out, and then just skip forward to where I've done the answers. Otherwise, remember what we're going to do is we're going to add these amounts up, and then we're going to work out the difference to make it up to £35.99. So 8.35, 2.97, 7.53 and 10.61. So we're going to add those up to start with. So remember, starting from the right hand side, 5 and 7 is 12, add 3 is 15, add 1 is 16. 3 add 9 is 12, add 5 is 17, add 6 is 23, add 1 is 24, and then 8 and 2 is 10, add 7 is 17, add 2 is 19, and then 1 add 1 is 2. So your friends' amounts of money add up to £29.46. You need £35.99. So let's work out by subtracting how much more needs to be put in by you. So 9 take away 6 is 3. 9 take away 4 is 5. Keep points in line for adding and subtracting. 5 take away 9 you can't do, so you need to nip next door and borrow 1. 15 take away 9 is 6, and 2 take away 2 is nothing. So the answer is that you need to put in £6.53, and then you'll have £35.99 between you, and you'll be able to buy the game. Okay, so looking at what we've been doing this week, yesterday we looked at perimeter of L and C and X shapes, and today we're going to look at some problem solving. I've only got 2 problems for you to do today, so what I would like you to do is, once we've read through the question and you understand it, I want you to pause it, and then I'll show you some of the solutions, and then we'll do the same with the second question. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so let's make sure we understand the question first of all. So the school needs to build a fence around the playing field to keep its children safe. It should only have right angles. The school can afford 500 metres of fencing. Create some designs to show how this could be done. Okay, so we haven't said that it needs to be a rectangle or a square. Okay, it can be an odd shape like this L shape, or it could be a C shape if you want to make it a bit more interesting, but it's got to only have right angles. Okay, so for example, it can't look like that. Okay, so remember the distance. You've got 500 metres of fencing, so that means the perimeter of this shape around the playing field has to be 500 metres. So whether it's a rectangle or another shape, all the lengths have to add up to 500 metres. So pause the video just now, have a think about how that can be done. I'll show you some ideas in a minute, and there's so many different answers though that I might not say the one that you've thought of, in which case feel free to post it on Teams so I can see it. That would be great. Okay. So looking at solutions then, if we look at rectangles first, if the perimeter of the whole rectangle has to be 500 metres, that must mean that one of the long sides, add one of the short sides, must be 250 metres, because it's got to be half altogether, hasn't it? If those sides add up to 250 metres, then the whole rectangle's perimeter will be 500 metres. So if we can think of 2 lengths that add up to 250, so for example, we could have, just to pick one, 10 metres by 240 metres. Okay, that would mean that this side is 240, that side's 10, So together they make 250, and the perimeter of the rectangle would be 500 metres. But if we think about it, 10 metres by 240 metres is, it's a bit of a long, skinny playing field, isn't it? It's like 2.5 lengths of a football pitch long, and it's only 10 metres wide, so that's the width of a normal swimming pool. So let's choose a different two numbers that add up to 250. Tell you what, we could have a square, couldn't we? We could have 125 metres by 125 metres, because 125 add 125 is 250. So we could have a square, and that would be a nice big square. Let's just pick another number at random, so 100 metres. And so the other side, what's left out of 250 would be 150 metres. So that would be a good size rectangle as well. So you can see that squares and rectangles, as long as the length and breadth add up to 250 metres, you're going to get a correct answer. But there are so many correct answers that we could just go on with this for ages. For example, 140 metres by 110 metres, etc. We could just keep going and keep going. Any two numbers that add up to 250 here and here, that's going to give you a rectangle with a perimeter of 500. Now let's think about an L-shape playing field. Okay, now remember, if the perimeter has to be 500, then remember the perimeter of this shape. Remember what we looked at yesterday was that the length of this line here is equal to these two added together, and the length of that one add that one is equal to that one. So that has the same perimeter as a rectangle. Okay, so if we want the perimeter to be 500, what we need is, like I just showed you with the rectangles, we need the length and breadth to add up to 250. Okay, so for example, if I decided I want this to be 180, and this to be, that would have to be 70 then, because they've got to add up to 250. Okay, and now what you've got to decide is, what can these two be? So they add up to 180. So let's have 100 metres for that one and 80 metres for that one. And then these two have to add up to 70. So let's say that one could be 50 and that one could be 20. So if we add up all those numbers, let's do them one at a time and tick them off. So 70, add 80 makes 150. Add 50 makes 200. 300, 320, and then 320 add 180 is 500 metres. Okay, so you can see there is no end to the amount of different shapes you could come up with, and as long as your perimeter adds up to 500, then you've got it right. Okay, and like I say, if you're particularly proud of any of your solutions, if you post them on Teams, that'd be fantastic to have a look. Okay, let's look at our next puzzle. This one's maybe a little bit tricky, so you're going to have to think out the box with this one a little bit. So each of these rectangles has a perimeter of 20 centimetres. What is the perimeter of the shape? Okay, so the perimeter of the shape is the outside of the shape. So it's what I'm drawing in red here. Okay, so the perimeter of the shape does not have the inside lines in it. Okay, so let me just get rid of those. So we don't have any of these lines. All right, they've gone because we're just looking to see if we can work out what the perimeter of that shape is. Okay, so pause the video, have a think about it, and then come back to me and I'll show you what the answer is and how to find it. Okay, pause it just now then. So this is a bit of a tricky one, I think. So each of the rectangles has a perimeter of 20 centimetres. What's the perimeter of the shape? Well, I think the easiest way to think about it is by actually moving some of the rectangles. Okay, so this rectangle that's on the top here, so this distance here will be exactly the same even if we move the rectangle left or right, okay? Because whatever that distance along there is, it doesn't matter if we move the rectangle along, it's still going to be the same horizontal distance when you add that bit and that bit together, okay? And so let's think about it. If we just move this brick to the left, okay? And then that's not changing the perimeter of the shape, it's just helping you see a little bit more easily. So we're going to put that brick there instead. So that perimeter that we had, that length of that whole line there, is exactly the same still. Okay, and we can do that with the bottom bricks as well. I think that would help. So we're just going to slide them. Oops. We're just going to slide them to the left a little bit. Okay, so instead of being where they are, it's going to be the two bricks here. And let's get rid of the lines that were there. And that keeps the perimeter of the shape the same, but it makes it a little bit easier, I think, to work out the perimeter of the whole shape. Okay, so the perimeter of the whole shape means that we don't have these inside lines when we're counting. Okay, so we're not counting any of these lines because we only want the perimeter of the whole shape. Okay, so I think the easiest way to do that is to think, well, we know that each rectangle has a perimeter of 20 centimetres. So that means, remember, perimeter of a rectangle, it means 2 lengths and 2 breadths add up to 20 centimetres. Okay, so let's work in bunches of 4 then. So if we look for 2 lengths and 2 breadths, so 2 lengths and 2 breadths make 20. Okay, let's look for another 2 lengths and 2 breadths. So 1, 2 lengths and 1, 2 breadths. That's another 20. And then just to pick another colour. And then we've got a length here and a length here and 2 breadths there. So that's another 20. So if we have a look now, look all the way around the shape, start here. All of these lengths and breadths are counted. So that must mean that the perimeter of that whole shape is 60 centimetres. So that was maybe a little bit tricky. Why don't you see if somebody else in your house who likes puzzles can solve that? See if they can work it out too. There's more ways of solving it than what I've shown you, but that's fine. Okay, so well done with all that, and have a great weekend.